welcome to Love Bytes, the show where we debug romance. Now, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist.
I am not a patient.
I don't have a degree in sociology or psychology, but what I do have is wealth of experience and a sincere desire to help you. Because sometimes love can get messy. And sometimes, if you're not careful, love bites. Hello everybody and welcome back to Love Bytes. It's been a hot minute. I am Koibu, also known as Neal, and I'm here to help you debug your romantic entanglements. With us is my dear friend RnTwigTaco. You can see over here.
Hello.
And Twig is our very special guest today. Twig, would you like to talk about your qualifications? Do you have a PhD in human psychology and love analysis?
No, but as my general job as a nurse, my main job is communication, so therefore that helps me for this. That, and I've had terrible, terrible past love experiences.
Haven't we all?
But now good ones, so it's sort of 50-50.
That's why you're here. It's because we've gone through the bad stuff, now we're in the good stuff, and we're here to help you with your things. So for those of you that don't know what Love Bytes is, it's exactly what it sounds. You email us a question, koibu@regalgoblins.com. Your romantic problem. We will work on it, help you get through it. We've got a pretty good success record here. And I think we don't need to do any more intros. Why don't we just start with the love advice here? So question number 1. These are all anonymous. We're not going to spill your info or any of those details, so feel free to open up. Thank you for bringing back Love Bytes. My question. I have a female friend who is intelligent, successful, good-looking. Fortunately, she only seems to like narcissists and assholes, and so her relationships do not last long and end in tears. She is going to therapy, but I'm not sure how much that is helping with that particular issue. Any ideas of how I could matchmake her with a guy who is not an asshole? Thanks, anonymous viewer. Now, we've previewed some of these questions, and Twig has a pretty solid answer prepared for this, I believe, right?
I have a solid medical answer for this, but not a solid love-related answer, Neil.
Well, we'll get to that.
Please note, though, any information I give out on this is not medical advice. You should seek to your nearest medical practitioner for anything medically related. But from a medical point of view, you should let them persist with therapy if they're in therapy. It can take up many, many years. Some cases go on over 10 years for therapy. And the best thing for someone in therapy is therapy. So persevere, offer them love and encouragement and care, and just persevere and be there for them and help them when you can.
Pretty good answer. That's a very nice, wholesome answer. I'm not quite such a good person as Twig.
You're not.
I'm really not. So let's try to take this from a more polite place. It's difficult to matchmake your friends, and if your friend is dating assholes, then like it's not your job to make a good match for them. That's my polite answer. My impolite answer is this reads to me like someone's all, I like this girl, but she dates assholes because I don't like the guys she's dating, and I want to date her, so how can I get in on that? That's what that reads like to me, and I don't know if
it does sound a bit like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the author's intent, but that's the message that's coming across to me, in which case, whether these people are narcissists or assholes is called into question by the biasness of the writer, in which case I would say you got the hots for someone who is clearly not into you. You don't have a shot in this relationship, especially if you've been into it for a while and she's been dating other people and you're kind of on the sidelines the whole time being like, when's my shot? It's never going to happen for you, buddy. That ship has long sailed. There's inequality in what you're thinking about her versus what she's thinking about you. It's best to abandon ship and move on. That's my less polite answer.
That's the cold brimstone answer.
Yeah, that's the like...
It's over. Move on.
Yeah. Like, you shouldn't be interested in someone who's clearly not interested in you. And I know sometimes, you know, love is a complicated thing. You can be attached to a person and feel invisible and like they don't see you. But, like, that's not sustainable because then you go for years and years building up something in your head that's not really there and having all these complicated feelings. Then if you start dating, you've got, like, 5 years of, like, pining versus their, like, immediate, this is a new thing for me. And then it gets complicated and messy. So like if you're pining after someone for a long time and they're not seeing you, then even if you do get together, it's probably not going to work out. It's going to crash.
You are much more invested in a relationship than they are.
Yeah,
initially, just because you've got 5 years in your head or something of building up towards it. However, to be devil's advocate, sometimes it does just take you to make people know your feelings.
That's true.
If people are just sitting on the sideline, people do have blind spots.
It's not impossible to pine after someone and then get together with them and have it work out. But if it's been going on for a long time,
yeah,
it can get awkward. Now, let's assuming that this good person is not talking about themselves and they have absolutely no interest and they honestly wish the best for their platonic friend who's just having a hard time dating. Like it's not really, it's hard to set someone up.
I've set up one of my friends before, successfully. Yeah. The rest have all been terrible disasters. One which ended up in hospital, but it's a different story. Yeah, long story.
The only friends I've successfully set up were like, there's a girl, she's into one of my guy friends, and she's like, Neal, I like this guy. And I'm just like, fucking ask him out. And she's like, no, I can't. I'm just like, fucking ask him out.
Girl at a party was like, oh, your friend's really cute. I was like, yeah. Do you want us to introduce you to him? Please, yeah.
See, that level of setting up works pretty well. But when you're like, hey, I've got someone for you to date, I don't know. I've never been down that road. No one's played that card on me.
To do that, you have to really know both people very well. Because you're like sort of putting yourself there saying, you two will make a good couple because of this, this, and this. If like, I work with a lot of nurses who are all very women-y women. Not many of them are interested in stuff like video games, D&D, anime, etc., etc. I have a notorious single friend who I would never try and set up with any of them for the sole reason of he's a massive gaming addict and massively into anime, and I know them two personalities probably won't clash enough. Lovely lad, great lad, but don't see it mixing properly.
So, I'm looking at this question again. I'm seeing the second sentence is, I have a female friend who is intelligent, successful, and good-looking. And that really does make me feel like the author into this girl.
Yeah.
So author, anonymous author.
And again, Neal, I recognize you're good-looking, but that's just because we love rom-coms.
Well, I mean, you're intelligent, successful, and good-looking too, Twig, but
exactly,
I'm not, if you've been dating an asshole, I'm not trying to, like, set you up with anyone. You know, it's okay to appreciate someone's qualities as long as you're not pining.
Yeah.
I had something I was going to say and I forgot about it, so it must not have been important. Cool. Right.
That is very true.
I think we've killed this first question. I think it's time to move on to question number 2. And we're going to skip the first paragraph because it's someone...
I don't think we should skip the first paragraph, Neal. I think you should read the first paragraph.
I think we can skip it.
It's full of deep emotion.
Maybe you should read the first paragraph.
Do you want me to read the first paragraph while you read the second one?
Why don't you read the first paragraph? Right. But everyone, you should just tune this part out. Come back in like 20 seconds when he's done reading.
There is a man for whom I have deep sexual desires. He is tall, handsome, with a gorgeous beard. He goes by a fake name and I've never met him in real life. But I watch him thoroughly through my highly technical video surveillance, Twitch TV. And I often see him role-playing with his other partners. He makes these other people call him Dungeon Master. And I love such a dominant personality. I wish he and I could roleplay our passions together forever. Koibu, will you marry me?
No.
See, the first part is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great writing. I appreciate hearing these sorts of things. You know, the feeling is...
See, Neka did send you his email, see? The first part of it was Neka's email.
I see. And the rest of it was someone else's.
The rest of it's someone else completely different.
Got it. Well, this other person whose question we're actually going to work on says, I'm a dude trying to get to know eligible women that fit my standards, which is, to start off, great way to do it. I'm looking for eligible women who fit my standards. Clear understanding of what you're looking for. And then he goes on to explain what his clear standards are. My standards aren't too difficult. Basically, you just have to have 2 X chromosomes and be from the same religion as me. It's pretty fucking easy. However, I work for the church during all of our services on the weekend, and I have no opportunities to go out to other churches and meet eligible women because of this commitment. The church I work for is practically all old grandmothers who are very nice and to whom I am not attracted. Want to expand my dating pool, but I don't have any good ways of meeting people when COVID canceled all casual events and I haven't seen the sunlight in a year. What should I do? Am I cursed to be a social piranha forever, or should I become a cougar? Hang on, I don't want to be the one becoming a cougar. Yeah. Damn you, autocorrect. Should I find a cougar in the ranks of my church?
Well, try everything once. That's all I'll say.
So I think there's a really, really obvious answer staring us in the face right here, because this person's talking about how the church that they go to is all old grandmothers. And you know what grandmothers have? They have daughters and granddaughters. Yes. Yes.
And depending on your age and their age, great-granddaughters.
Right? So you do church services. You're passing out there's cookies at the end of church, I'm assuming. You're passing out the cookies at the end of church. I'm guessing.
You've never been to church now?
No, I've never been to church. You're passing out cookies at the end of the church. You're doing the whole greeting line, except it's the opposite, so it's the leaving line. And you just say, here's a cookie. I've written my phone number on it if you happen to have a granddaughter. And you just write, you hand write your phone number on all the cookies, and the grandmothers will of course take your cookies, and they'll think it's so cute that you wrote your phone number on it, and then they'll pass the cookies off to their granddaughters. And
Mr. X down the church is such a lovely boy. Why don't you go out with him?
That's it. That's your ploy. That's how you get the people with 2 X chromosomes who are of the same religion as you. Bam.
They might not necessarily be the same religion as their grandparents, though.
Well, that's true. You might have, grandparent whose child or grandchild has strayed from the flock. But I think this is a pretty good shot, especially considering the current options. Now, I think you've said it's okay to say that you've had some experience dating during COVID. So you might have a more useful take on this.
I met my current girlfriend through a dating app called Bumble. Because COVID was on, I work as a full-time nurse, so I live in a hospital. Oddly, she's also a nurse, so she also lives in a hospital. There was like 0 chance of us ever meeting outside of this dating app. But basically, like, some dating apps do have very bad reputations. Like Tinder, you can't, like, over here in the UK, especially where I'm from, Tinder is for one thing and one thing only. While Bumble's got the alternative of the woman has to message you first, which gives women a lot more confidence. It usually gets more strong-willed people that are actually looking for relationships. And you can put certain tags and filters on, like religion, political views, although I think they disabled that after the riots in America. And like, there's a bunch of other criteria you can filter on. Oddly, my girlfriend is a different religion to me and is very involved in the church. She's a Seventh-day Adventist, which means they celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday, where she's in church for most of the morning on Saturday. She was today, before she came over here. And her family expected her to date someone in her religion, although she's recently told them that I'm not in her religion. Although I didn't mention I'm more of an atheist Buddhist person. But
how'd that go?
They were fine with it. They said, you're an adult now, you're happy, you've just been happy for a while, that's fine. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. A lot of people, it depends on how strict your religion is. Some religions you have to marry within your religion, some religions and culturally you're very pressured to. But it depends. Like, you might meet someone who's in your religion who isn't as pressured to do it. You might meet someone outside your religion who's happy to convert to your religion to be with you or some other stuff like that. But dating apps really help during COVID, especially like stuff like Bumble, because it lets you get to know someone. It lets you set up a dialogue with someone that you can quite restrictively filter on stuff like that. I think you can on other stuff like Plenty of Fish and stuff. But this, like, being able to filter like what you're after criteria-wise and then set up that dialogue before you actually go to meet someone does help, especially during like these times. Like, our first date was just to a coffee shop after we'd been talking for, I think, 2 months on the app. And then it was, like, just after lockdown. But, like, anytime we weren't actually in the coffee shop, we had, like, face masks on and everything. So it was odd. It was very odd, but it was
dating
just...
through face masks?
Yeah, it was surprisingly still easy to recognize someone. Yeah, it was weird. Like I like spotted them crossing the street before they even came into the cafe. Like
Nice.
they had like coat on, like big mask and everything, and like hat and everything, but it was fine.
And have you found that it is plausible to date during COVID? Like, clearly it's worked for you. Do you think that's like an outlier in the data, or a doable situation?
It's definitely more restrictive because I think it sort of forced a lot of people onto dating apps that wouldn't normally use them or are afraid of using them, but pretty much at the minute it's the only option. Especially in the UK, bars are shut, restaurants are shut. You can't meet with anyone outside your social bubble, your 6 friends. If you haven't already tried meeting people through your friends, then dating apps are like, it's now weird to go up to someone in a bar and be like, "Can I buy you a drink?" And stuff like that, because it still happens. Yeah, like my friend still does it, works for him, but a lot of people, it's dating apps are how they get to know people, how they have everything from one night stands to full relationships to marriage. One of the nurses I work with met her husband on Tinder.
I've know a couple that met on Tinder and are now married. Just got married during COVID. They could not have a wedding, and we had to drive by their house and throw things at them.
Another 2 I know got met on one of the dating apps, and they were meant to get married last year, but COVID cancelled their wedding in Cyprus, so they rescheduled for this year, and COVID cancelled their wedding in Cyprus. So I think it's delayed till like the back end of this year now.
So we got dating apps, giving your phone number to grandmas on cookies.
Or the granny.
Or you could,
try everything once.
Try everything
Go for them
once.
cougars.
Yeah. Why not? They've got life experience, wisdom to pass on. Eligible women right there. Now, there is a third option, and as we discovered earlier when I said when you pass out cookies at the end of church, I don't know if this actually is a real thing. I'm just kind of taking stabs in the dark here, so take it with a grain of salt. Is there
church, I guess,
some sort of church exchange sabbatical type thing you could do where you're like, I'm going to switch, I help out with these services, but I'm going to switch service shifts with the person at that church over there for like a month or 2 so we can get to know each other's churches? Is there some sort of... What?
We call it like a secondment in the UK, where you like swap role with someone else for a short period of time to gain experience in either a different role or different area.
A suck condiment, yes.
Secondment.
Condiment. So
draw the accent. I'm trying to speak English, Neal. I'm trying.
I'm working at it too. I'll do my best to understand. But maybe you can do one of these swap-aroos, and like that way you don't, because I understand you don't want to abandon your services. You wouldn't want to like just take a week off because you're an integral part of your church. You perform functions that everyone relies upon. It's a big community thing. But maybe there's a way. Maybe you can go up to your priest, pastor. I don't know the terms of all the people in charge, but
again, it depends on the church.
Right, you go up to your person in charge and be like, "Look, I really need to meet someone. Is it okay if we switch? Can I go visit that church for a little while? I'll get someone to switch with me. They can come here. I can go there. I just like kind of want to, meet some folks."
Another way of staying within your church and within your religion is even during COVID, community outreach stuff. Like there is a lot of elderly people apparently coming to your church. Maybe offer to help get them shopping or something. You might turn up to their house and their granddaughter might be around visiting, or daughter might be around visiting, or stuff like that. Just doing stuff that gets you, even though during COVID you can't really get out to community events, doing other community approaches in your church.
This is
like
brilliant.
Supporting the elderly. Maybe there's a family that ends up in your parish, church, whatever, that gets COVID. Maybe take them around some shopping, take them around to cook a meal, save them having to cook a meal.
Right.
Like, when I had COVID, just trying to cook a meal was an hour-long ordeal of having to sit down like 3 times.
Some old folks, maybe they need help with their groceries. Offer to get a list from them, go buy groceries, drop them off at their house. At the worst situation, you're the really nice guy who's helping out all the old ladies with their groceries. And I've never been a woman. I'm not a woman. But I would suggest that would be the sort of thing that if I were a woman, I'd be attracted to. I mean, if I met a woman who was like going around helping all the old ladies and all the old men with their groceries, I would be like, oh my God, want an upstanding
One of the main
citizen.
reason people are attracted to nurses because they help their family.
So maybe you're
It's like
already
a cognitive
helping.
bias thing.
Yeah, you're already helping these old people. Help them out a little bit more, and hope you get lucky. You know, one way or the other. And that's question
By
number
lucky,
2.
he means a meaningful connection.
Meaningful connection, absolutely, yes. Yes. On to our next question. Hey guys, firstly I want to say how much you and your community have helped me in the past years. I've been dealing with depression in my life, not just in me, but in the people around me. Recently, with the help of my partner and friends, I have felt the best I have ever have, but now know that for me to truly explore who I am, I will need to end the current relationship. I know when, and I know why. What I need help with is how best to articulate my love and care while still being clear that I need to not be with my partner. Thanks for your time, anonymous writer.
Oof. Sounds like they still love and care about their partner, but they want some time to either pursue other partners or understand themselves. And knowing that they need to break that off first is a very responsible thing, which some people could take advice from.
Know who you are. And it's good to hear that this person cares for their partner. They just know that this isn't good for me. So this is coming from not a place of anger or frustration, but a place of love and compassion for the future, which is not going to make it any easier on your partner. I'm sorry.
Especially during current times, like people that don't spend as much time with their partner might be working from home and stuff, where they're spending even more time with their partner that they're not used to. And sometimes people do just need a break. Sometimes you do need to just go out and see who you are, what you are.
Absolutely.
Do some bit of like the best thing you can ever do when separating from someone else is focus on yourself. Because building yourself up is probably the best thing to do in that time and the healthiest thing for you to do.
Now, I've had 3 notable breakups. First 2 of these 3 not go well. There was heartbreak and tears and frustration involved. The third one went very well, but we were both in a situation where we had like moved to a new city together. We were still dating, but we didn't know anyone, and we were kind of like clinging to each other for support. And then we each had our own needs. It was getting gross. It was getting bad. We went our separate ways. I was the one to suggest it, but it was like it was a well received overall, and it ended very amicably. I've never had experience getting out of a relationship when the other person wants to stay in and do that well.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've only ever had it end one way and not the other.
Yeah. So maybe you could just give them this email and be like, I wrote to this Love Advice show because I have this problem. I want you to read this, what I wrote to them, and then just hand them the email. Because the email is surprisingly straightforward and honest, you know? It's...
Or maybe instead of handing them a piece of paper for them to read it off, tell them just what you wrote on the email.
Okay, maybe that's better. Maybe that's actually that's a slightly wiser advice. But recently with the help of my partner and friends, I'm feeling better than ever, but now I need to move on. Like in this email, you sound very, even though you don't spend a lot of time talking about your partner, it does come across like you have a lot of respect and appreciation and love for your partner, which is nice to know.
And you've been saying you felt the best you ever had being around with the help of your partner and friends. So
maybe you can say like, I appreciate everything we've done here. This has been a great time for me, but I think for me to become the best person that I want to be, my best version of myself, I need some time alone. I need some time to learn to be myself. I'm not breaking up with you because I don't think we're good together. I'm breaking up with you because I need to be who I am, and I need to find out who that is. And so maybe in a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, when I'm, figured out what's going on, we can get back together. Or maybe by then you'll have moved on and found someone else. Maybe, who knows, but an approach like this might work. I've done the this isn't working right now. We should break up, and maybe we should get back together later. And it worked, and I'm married to her now. So, like, that shit works.
It can work.
It can work.
But the thing is, also with depression, people trying to, especially if you've been depressed and the only reason now you're not is because of other people, you might be struggling to think, am I better because of me? Has enough changed? Or am I better because of relying on other people? And that can create spirals in people's heads. So if you are dealing with depression and you might have some mental health professional you're talking to, maybe discuss it with them. They won't give you direct advice, but they may be able to help explain situations where other people who have had depression and recovered from it do sometimes separate from their partners for a period of time. It's a lot of built up emotions that sometimes you can't get past till you move past stuff. So sometimes you have to break walls and build walls, I think it is, or something like that, to basically find out where, like, the new you, because you've recovered from something extreme. You don't know who the new you is yet. You don't know if the new you is the person for your partner, because it sounds like you still care about them. And you might not want to hurt them by the new you not being the person for them.
You could do the I'm not finished baking yet. I as a person, let's use the metaphor of cooking. I'm some dough.
Baking,
I got shoved in the oven.
Baking.
This is what men talk about when the women aren't around. It's all baking. You say, like, I wasn't even done cooking, but then you came around and now I'm rising. I'm going through this big stage of transformation. I need to know who this is without you. And then maybe there's room for you, maybe there's not. But, like, I really appreciate everything you've done for me. This is great. But I would be doing all of you and me a disservice by not figuring out myself on my own time.
Yeah.
I think
either way, you're going to hurt someone, and possibly yourself in the matter. But no matter how you do it, there's going to be.
But
there'll be tears some side.
Love bites. You're going to get hurt. It's just the way it goes, and you got to work through that pain. So, yeah, I think you're already on a good page. You're already clearly articulating why you want to leave this person, and you already have everything sort of set and ready, and you just need one final kick to get up there and speak your truth to this person.
Like, the when and why might have helped expand this in the email, where it's just said, I know when and I know why. It's the how that you're struggling with. But the when and why defines how you do it. If it's because you want to pursue other people, then you have to be brutally honest with them before you do. Otherwise, you're then a very, very shitty person. Right. Or if it's because you do just want to know who you are because you still care about this person, but you don't know if they'll like the new you, then it's a different approach, sort of.
And the how, it will provoke tears. It will provoke stress. It will create drama and tension. And there's no way to get around that. So pull the pin, throw it in, and get out. Good luck. Not to say that love is like war where you're throwing grenades at each other and everyone's blowing up, but sort of.
Just chuck a few frag grenades in there, maybe a bit of napalm. Just see what happens.
Yeah, just burn. Yeah.
Go in, smash a plate, be like, it's over. And then just walk out the door and see what happens.
Smash a plate, it's over. And walk on out.
Just reverse Greek wedding where they smash plates. Like, summon a plate off the floor and repair it in your hand.
Use that mending spell, fix them plates.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be useful for something.
On to the next question. Hey, I have been a fan for a while and just wanted some advice on how to let go of someone. It's been a while, and for a time I did let go. I just found myself thinking about her a lot. Please don't reveal my name, by the way. So how do you let go of someone you've already let go of, but now you're thinking about a lot again? Twig, how do you let go?
I have a very extreme method of moving on from people. I sort of salt the ground and burn the earth. I block them on everything. Everything from Facebook, Instagram, re-download stuff like Snapchat just to block them. And so you basically cut off every method you can possibly contact this person or possibly get direct contact from them. It's harder with people that are mutual friends. I have mutual friends because then they sometimes pop up in other people's posts and stuff. But the thing that's worked for me moving on past any previous relationship, especially ones which have been not great breakups or where I've been more invested in it, is that blanket approach to separate everything. Because it will take time no matter what you do. Any relationship takes time to move on from. If you ever fully move on from all relationships, it's something where I need that wall put up to be able to think to myself and just focus back on myself without being distracted by pictures popping up on Facebook or reminders from stories popping up on Instagram and stuff like that. But even then, still little things do remind you. Like, you'll go to a bar and be like, when have I been at this bar before? Oh yeah, shit, it was when I went on that date with this person. And stuff like that, you just have to, again, focusing on yourself. Hopefully you'll be in a better mental state. You'll be more prepared, and the distance will help you be, it sounds weird, but be more solid in yourself. Like, you'll turn up to a bar and be like, oh, we went here on our first date, it's bringing back a few memories, but then you'll be like, yeah, but we're separated because of this in your head, and you'll be like, I've moved on, I'm now this much better, I'm now like ran a 5k, I've now read that book I never got around to reading or something. It's all like building positives in your life away from that person without trying to mix them into anything involved in it. Sometimes it's harder though if they're mutual friends still in your friend group, etc. But that's usually worked for me, even with people that were mutual friends and stuff like that.
I think everything you've said is spot on. I don't want to subtract from it. I want to add to it. If you try this approach, or have already tried this approach and found that you're still not quite there, there is a second step that you can take, which is the sort of like ceremonial burning of physical objects related to this person. Get yourself in fire safety first, everyone. Don't start a wildfire in California or Colorado or Canada or anywhere.
Or yourself.
Or don't set yourself on fire.
Hospitals
but get yourself
are busy
a fire
enough.
going. You know, get yourself a nice big trash can fire or whatever, and take a moment to collect the things that might remind you of this person and throw them ceremonially into the flames. And I know this kind of sounds a little dorky, but there is, there is a deep-seated part of humanity that involves symbolism and tradition and ritual. And even if you're kind of like, this is hokey, ritually burning things, that's so dumb. You're already in a desperate situation where you can't move on past someone, so what do you have to lose? But try some like ritual burning where you set a fire and throw the crap about this person into the flames and say aloud into the physical space that you're in at that time the things that you need to say about this person to move on. Like, I don't want you anymore. Toss in a picture of you guys. This is unhealthy for me to continue. Toss in a teddy bear. I might have liked you once upon a time, but you're holding me back in my life. Throw in that mix CD, something like that. And sometimes closing ceremonies and closing rituals can be very, very powerful for individual people. Even if you're kind of like, this is a little hoo-hoo, but it's legit shit that people have been using for tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years. Ritual is a powerful tradition. So if you got a problem, if you're trying to let go of someone, just block him out of your life, just like Twig said, everything he said. But then also maybe some ritual fire, some ritual cleansing flames.
It's the Burning Man experience, Neal.
It, in a lot of ways, they get really.
But on a side note, for what I said is, even if you do block someone out of your life for like 5 years, even if they are mutual friends, you can then slowly bring people back into your life after you've moved on. And like, there's one reason I have one golden rule, and that is never date anyone you ever work with. Because if it goes wrong, then not only is it much more difficult to move on, you can't block them on anything because sometimes you bump into them at work. People end up leaving jobs and having to switch jobs. Some people have to move across country. Some people have to move down to London, other hospitals.
Some people get into
different
relationships with their
states.
coworkers and then find themselves having to break up because they've been caught in those relationships and now have to find a new place to work because it's,
New house.
tempting.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah.
Drama.
Ooh. So
We get some good drama.
we're about halfway through the show here. If you guys have any additional questions that you would like to send in, Koibu at regalgoblins.com is the email address. Love Bytes is the tagline or the subject line. Send your questions in, and we will do our best to help. Okay, so, next question here. So I have been talking to this girl for a few weeks. I met her through a mutual friend. At first, I was very interested in something romantic with her, but after 2 weeks of talking, she didn't seem interested at all, so I stopped texting her. After a week, she suddenly starts texting me every day and would instantly respond to anything and everything I text her while also being flirty. Fast forward a week, and now she doesn't seem interested at all, i.e. stopped being flirty and just a lack of interest, just like when I first started talking to her. I've thought about being upfront about wanting to pursue something romantic with her, but I don't know if being so upfront is a good idea. And even if I did, I have no clue how to bring it up and not look like a complete clown. Please help. Yes, keep up all the great work you do. Well, I like being upfront, but you don't always want to start every I might be into you with a blunt admission of love, right? It sounds nice to just be like always be blunt with everyone, but sometimes blunt admissions of love out of the blue can land poorly if you aren't versed. Help me, Twig, I'm struggling.
If you're not very eloquent in English, sometimes you may come across more needy or more intense than you actually intend to, is what Neal was trying to say.
Thank you. But let's dissect this. After 2 weeks of talking, she didn't seem interested, so I stopped texting her. Then a week later, she's interested in texting and flirty, and then a week later, she's not interested. It's kind of like hot, cold feeling. It sounds like there's maybe 3, maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah, other people. Here. It could be other people she's also talking to at the same time. And also, that maybe you're not the primary focus for her at the minute. She could also, it could be other people she's talking to. She could maybe work night shifts 1 week. I pretty much vanish from Discord, my phone, everything when I'm on night shift.
Also, 4 weeks is not a great sample size here. Maybe someone in her life got COVID. Maybe her grandma's got COVID, and that's why she was gone for a while, and now she's gone again. Like, and it's really easy when you're just like texting to read into everything and be like, "Oh my God, she's not responding as quickly. She's not into me anymore. She's not. That wasn't as flirty as that." Like, it's really easy to psych yourself out. So first things first, a couple of deep fucking breaths and try and gain some perspective here. You can get lost. What is it? There's like, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can get lost in this sort of situation where you're trying to gain information out of the text and there's just not enough to get there. And so you're kind of...
You're reading subtext for subtext that doesn't exist.
Exactly. So
someone says, okay. And you're like, what do they mean? Why have they just said okay? Why have they just sent a thumbs up? Oh no, what have I done? What is this? What is this? What is this? And it's just like, oh, they're actually just like running out the shop. So they just quickly sent a response to like show they'd seen it.
Yeah, or something's come up at work, they become busy, their dog's been injured. I know I sometimes just forget where my phone is for like 4 days at a time now since we're in quarantine, and I'm just on my computer all the time. Like, I'll get messages from family members that I just don't even see them for 5 or 6 days, and then come back to them and respond to them. So it's possible that you're reading way too much into this. Plausible, probable.
Also, you have only just started talking to this person from the sounds of it. So you met them through a mutual friend, you only just started talking with them. And it seems like it's only been going on for like a month.
Be cool. You gotta play it.
Like, yeah, slow. Like, find stuff you have in common. And especially if she's responding again. But just maybe ask your mutual friend if he knows or she knows stuff about them that might help, I guess. Like, if you met them through your mutual friend must know them, well, must know them better than you, so they might have some advice for you.
Yeah, you're just like, hey, Twig, do you know person? Person. Is she seeing anyone?
Yes, I know person.
What's she into? Just have that
Yeah.
conversation with your mutual friend.
Like, you sent me Blah Blah's number the other week, or like a couple of weeks ago when I last saw you. Do you know if she's seeing anyone at the minute, or like, because I'm like slightly like depends how like well you are with this mutual friend. Like, if it's one of my best mates, I'll just like, oi mate, what's happening? She's seeing someone. He gives that number.
Right. So get some intelligence on this sort of situation. You don't want to gather too much intelligence because that becomes stalking, but just a little bit from a mutual friend is acceptable, even preferred in society.
Yeah.
And it can be hard. You want to be the fawns? You want to be the fawns. You want to play it cool. You want to have conversations with these people. You want to try not to read into it. You don't want to be too antsy. You want to
you might be being too intense for them.
Yeah.
They might be giving you like that week might have been like them like trying to subtly give you like a cool off period. There might be like you've only just met this person. They might want to take it a bit slower. They might want to get to know you first. So 20 to 30 text messages a day or like is incredibly intense, while for some people even 5 text messages off someone they've never met besides once is slightly creepy.
Yeah. So take it slow, take it easy. You want to be the person, you don't want to be, you want the ball to be in your court and then in her court and then in your court, but you want the ball in your court, right? You don't want to be the person who is always waiting to hear back from them. And I wouldn't go so far as to like ghost these people, this person for a while, but you might consider a situation where you get a text from them and you want to respond right away, but you put your phone down for an hour and then you pick it up after an hour, having had some time to cool off, and respond with your regular message or whatever. You don't want to seem to be hooked on them.
Another thing I noticed that one of my friends does do is because he was really bad at like constantly texting people, that he started to be the one that closed out conversations instead of like leaving conversations open-ended. Like they'd have a bit of banter back and forth, and then he'd be like, all right, I'm off to do this. I'll try and catch you later or something, instead of like leaving it like of just off to the shops. Which is they're like, oh, are they going to message me? Do I have to message them when they're back? Him saying, oh, I'm off to the shops, I'll catch you later, or maybe tomorrow. Or like sort of putting up mini barriers gets them a bit more sort of on the same communication wavelength, if you get us. It's like you're building a rapport with someone and showing that you won't just like, because some people find it so annoying just constantly continuing conversation. Like, okay, I'm off in the bath, and you're just like, okay, what are you doing in the bath? Or like, what are you doing after the bath?
Yeah.
What are you watching? What's this? And like, oh, I'm watching Love Bytes. Oh, what are you doing after Love Bytes? How is it? And like, I'm trying to watch a show. I've told you I'm watching a show.
Yeah.
You can be like, all right, I'll catch you later then.
Yeah. Play it cool. Play it casual.
Yeah. Showing that you have a cut-off point, that you're not constantly available for someone, is also very good. Because if you're constantly available for someone, like a second they text you, it shows that you're like very needy and can be very off-putting for a lot of women.
Even if you just happen to be the sort of person who like has your phone nearby and you answer all your texts right away just because your phone's there and you've got the time, it can read different ways when you get it. So take some time. Don't be overly available. Don't be underly available, but like,
it's finding a happy medium. It's difficult for every two people, but it like romantic relationships, friend relationships, everything. Finding a happy balance between two people is the difficult part of building most relationships, whether they're romantic or non-romantic.
You don't want to try too hard.
Yeah.
Right. Now we have another email here. Big. I'm looking at this one, and I've proofread it, I'm not entirely certain that this isn't some elaborate troll that I have just missed, because there's a key section of the second sentence that is never addressed. So, at the risk of falling into someone's
Send it
ploy,
across to me.
I will forward it to you and not us. The clipboard just says cookies are an invitation to post church D&D groups. Definitely not.
I think if your church is that religious, they probably don't approve of D&D.
So here we go.
Succubus and your devils.
Hey Neal, cool to see Love Bytes again. Talking about. I'm just getting out from a relationship with a girl I did well with. We had plenty in common, but there just wasn't a spark. So we broke it off and are now just living together. This is what's sending up the red flags. However, I'm not sure how much I learned from it besides how to suck it up and ask someone out. How do I settle both the feeling of not quite wanting to go out and look for a partner, feeling disillusioned with the chances of people, but at the same time feeling uneasy about the prospect of slowly growing too out of tune with life and dwindling dating pool since I'm edging on 30? I know I ain't going to be happy alone, but I also not be happy with a person that doesn't mesh with me. Should I use the same old keep fishing for a person with mutual interest, hoping for a lucky break, or just wait until existential love crises come hard enough for me to use some dating apps? They do say, though, some people smell desperation from miles away. So first off, if you're living with someone that you just broke up, maybe now is not the time to be dating.
Well, it's not the time to date people.
Yeah, it's probably not a great time to date someone when you are living with your ex. Yeah. I would never date someone who was living with their ex. Would you date someone who was living with their ex, Twig?
Oh.
What if they were a perfect partner who were super hot and had all of your same interests, but they were living with their ex?
No, they're still living with their ex.
What if they offered you back massages every time you played video games while they still
No, they're still living with their ex.
What if they were a billionaire whose ex was just happened to be staying with them still and was going to offer to take you all around the world on trips and cruises and stuff?
Yes, because it's money.
Why we're not professionals at this, guys. No, the answer is no.
I never said I was perfect.
You do not date someone.
Neal, I haven't been on holiday in 2 years abroad.
Well,
a nice Caribbean cruise.
All right, maybe
I wouldn't say no.
Twig's affection. Mine's not for sale, but Twig's currently
Caribbean
is.
cruise? Hell no.
No. I heard Jamaica just ran out of marijuana. Why would I want to go on a Caribbean cruise?
That's true.
For now? Anyway, because Jamaica's the only place in the Caribbean, and that's the reason to go. Sorry.
I think more the Bahamas, but...
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's... So, how do I settle the feeling of not quite wanting to go out and look for a partner, feeling disillusioned with the chances, people, but at the same time feeling uneasy at the prospect of slowly growing too out of tune with life and the dwindling dating pool since I'm edging on 30? Edging on 30 is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
When you are edging on 50 and you're still single, that is when you're like, okay, now I really need to start examining my options. But 30, bitch, please. Right? That's all I have to say about
30 is not even half your life.
Yeah.
For the majority of people.
Yeah. And most of that
for the majority of people that are alive right now, it'll be about a third of your life.
So, first off, you want to... People work well in groups. Having a life partner is a useful situation. Not everybody needs to go down that path, but it's nice to have. So I would say continue to look, just not while you're living with your ex.
Yeah.
Extra. That's like the worst situation I can possibly imagine.
I know in the UK you can now move out. When during the first lockdown you couldn't move out if you were living with someone, even if you like split up with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's like any other countries that are doing that or any other like states in America or anything, but or they might just not have the finances to move out on their own at the minute. That happens.
That does happens.
I would say at the minute you're not in the place to be looking for other people. you're in the place to be building yourself up and trying to put them boundary walls up that we talked about in the previous question. Obviously, you can't burn and block the X out your life if they're living with you, unless you build like a massive pillar fort in the middle of the house. But that's very convoluted.
But then
you need
to
go out and buy a lot of
like,
pillars.
It's your turn to take out the trash. It's my turn to clean the bathroom. There's still conversations to be had. You know, why are you using so much toilet paper? Mess.
Why have you stolen my pillows, etc.
Yeah, what happened to my cat?
Yeah.
Why does Mr. I forgot the cat from L Word's name. Mr. Piddles. Why is Mr. Piddles dead?
Yeah, why is Mr. Piddles suddenly dead?
Don't kill your partner's cat, everyone.
Or at all ever be a Jenny. But that's a side topic.
Jenny.
However, once you have moved on, I would say it's not really an existential love crisis to use dating apps. That's just the way the world is moving forward, especially during COVID, where you can't physically meet people. Like, besides stuff like you might talk to people on Discord, but then a lot of people are very uncomfortable giving out any personal information over the internet, unless it's a very, very long time. While dating apps, you know the people you're meeting are interested in relationships if you use the right ones. Like, as I said here, Tinder is very much for one-night stands, while stuff like Bumble's for more relationships, Plenty of Fish for people like slightly older and stuff like that. But
I know a couple that got married after meeting on Tinder.
Yeah, so do I, but it's more of the context that, like, it's basically because, like, all the students and 18-year-olds on it, and it's scary when you're like, no, this person is well too young. Yeah. This person looks like a child.
Right. So I think these are all great points of advice here. I want to touch on the working on yourself that we've talked about in the last question and briefly touched on this one. If you are living with your ex during a global pandemic, now is not the time to date. Now is the time to improve yourself as a person. Even if your ex is like dating and bringing back people and fucking them in your room or whatever, now is the time to be to improve yourself. Like, pick up a hobby that you can do at home. Pick up, maybe start working out at home or wherever you can. Get into hiking. Like, find something that makes you a better. Learn to cook. Find something that makes you a better version of yourself. Learning to cook is one of the most useful things you can do for yourself, and it's a way that you can also, like, sort of stay civil with the person you're living with, I guess, at the time. Be like, oh, I'll cook tonight. All right. Are you at all concerned that if you are learning to cook while you're still living with your ex, that it might reignite things that are existing? Because cooking
depends if you're making stuff from, like, beans on toast to spaghetti bolognese, but like,
I'm just saying, cooking is a sexy fucking trait. Someone cooks a meal for you. Doesn't matter who's doing the cooking and who's doing the receiving. Everyone loves that. So, do you think that cooking might reinstill the passions of the cohabitating ex?
It's possible, but it's also a way of slightly more bad thing of showing them, look how better I am doing without you. Maybe just make the food just for yourself. They're shoving like an instant ramen in, like, the microwave. You're making yourself lasagna with garlic bread.
Yeah. So this is your time for self-improvement. This is your time for solo adventures and figuring out who you are, what you're doing, what you really want in life. And then when you cannot be living with your ex is a great time to keep fishing for the person with mutual interests and hoping for a lucky break. Yes. Yeah. And as Twig said, dating apps work.
Yeah, there's one thing I really recommend from a lot of people, and that is like, not self-help books, but there's a couple of the self-help books that are good, like what the hell's it called? I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, 2 seconds. I need to open my Audible. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. A counterintuitive approach to life. It's sort of like a reverse self-help book, but it does make you reevaluate a lot of stuff that you're doing yourself, and that for people who read, like, there's a paradox of self-help books where people feel worse reading self-help books, which this book does highlight, because you think you're not good enough, and you think this book will solve it. This book doesn't solve it. Mostly because people don't actually implement a lot of the schemes in them, but also because people are always going in with that aspect is, I'm not good enough that I need the self-help book, or I'm not good enough that this book will fix this, or stuff like that. But it's sort of a reverse self-help book, and it does help you put a lot of things into perspective about what you should focus on and what you shouldn't focus on in your life. And it can help people to get their priorities in order. Your main priority is, if you can, is either move out or find some way for them to move out.
If you're playing a video game and you get stuck, you look up a walkthrough or a guide.
Yeah.
When you're playing the game of life, you get stuck, you can look up a walkthrough or a guide. It's the same thing as if you're playing, I don't know, Wasteland 3 and you're like, where do I get the power armor? I really want the power armor. Oh, gotta get to the speedway before I get that. That's a pain in the butt. It's the end of the game, but fine, I'll go do it. Same thing in the real world.
Or if you've never played D&D before and you're like, how the hell are you meant to play a rogue? There's guides out there.
Yeah. So if you're playing the game of life and you find yourself in a stuck position or you're having some trouble with something, look at a guide. Call these self-help books. They're fucking walkthroughs for life. And you know, sometimes you read a walkthrough and it's written by like IGN and it's a piece of shit, right? Not all walkthroughs are great. Some walkthroughs are better than others. You might have to take a look at a couple of them. Maybe you're looking at the Stardew Valley wiki and it has everything you fucking need to know. And it's amazing.
And then some. Stuff you didn't even need to know.
Right. But then it's surprisingly lacking on the different farm maps and not talking about the individual mechanics of the farm maps. And like, if I'm on the river map, what sort of fish can I find in the river on the river map? Who knows? You know, the river farm? Sometimes the guides aren't complete, even if they're really great in other areas. So get yourself a good self-help book if that's where you feel you need. Maybe you should work out. Getting in good physical shape is always like a big self-motivator for your ego, and it's really good for people around you. And if you can kind of focus on yourself and not other folks, people are like, oh my, got their shit together. They're not even looking at me as they jog down the road. Oh, they must be so good that they're not even looking at me. Oh my God. And then people are interested in you, right? So this is your opportunity to self. Take it.
Always build yourself up, don't knock other people down. Ascend, don't drop to that level.
Okay. Proofreading this other one here. Seems fine.
It seems fine.
Well, because when we take questions midway through Love Bytes, oftentimes they become... Oftentimes they're trolls. But I think this is it.
I should have time for this last question.
I think we'll have time for one last question. Yes. Hi, Koibu and Twig. There is a person in my friend group whom I am very interested in, but now I'm mostly over them. The other person was probably being too blurry with boundaries, but I take the lion's share of damage done to the friendship. They've recently become active in the friend group again, and I find myself getting annoyed. I would really like to boot them out of my life forever and get over them for good, but they're friends with my friends. How do I deal with this for scope? They're in our D&D game and interact daily with us. Do you understand this question at all? I need to read it a second or third time.
They were dating someone. It didn't work. They broke it off, but they are still very, like, they're still in the same D&D group and stuff, and like still have all the same mutual friends and play games together.
Okay.
I think from the sounds of it.
Yeah, person I'm in my friend group who I was interested in, now I'm over it. That person was being blurry with boundaries, but I take.
Oh no, they weren't dating. It sounds like they were just interested, and that person might have been a bit overly flirty or something.
Right. Okay. So you're playing D&D with someone. The other person's being flirty. You try to make a move and cause damage to the friendship?
And it's done some damage, yeah, from the sounds of it, yeah.
They've recently become active in the friend group again, and you're getting annoyed because this flirty person who you tried to... They got awkward and they left, but now they're back, and you're annoyed that they're back. Really like to boot them out of my life forever and get over them for good, but they're friends with your friends. This is the danger of dating within your friend pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well...
You could either take that person aside and talk to them, and explain that obviously whatever's happened between you has done some damage to the group, and you're not entirely comfortable with seeing them as often as you currently are. Just be honest with people. Might not work, might do more damage to the friends group, might fix stuff. It's not certain. However, the other way to do it is maybe take a step back yourself. Give yourself a bit of time. Because you can't make your friends pick between friends. Never be like, you have to choose between this puppy or that puppy.
Right.
Like, sometimes it does take you to be the better person and take a step back, self-evaluate, build yourself up, put that temporary wall up. And like I said, you can always knock that wall down again in like a couple of weeks after you've got yourself a bit more in a better headspace.
And that sounds like what this person did, because if they've recently become active again, that means they took a step back. So maybe it's they took a step back, you got your time with your friends, now they're back, and it's time for you to take a step back for an equal amount of time, reevaluate yourself on your own, and then come back into the friend group. And maybe after you've both stepped back and stepped in together, it'll be cool again. Or maybe it'll just be awkward, and it'll be the conversation of topic for your friends when neither of you are around, and it becomes the juicy gossip for the entire group.
And it's always hanging over the group and always sitting there, and until it's actually brought out into the open, it's always just that dirty old sock sitting behind the washing machine. That stinks up the place.
Yeah, been there.
But it does stop the water from leaking out.
It does, and everyone loves gossip, especially when they're not directly involved in the drama and the gossip. So
drama is fantastic.
This does make for good pain. Maybe you should become a writer. Continue to hang out with the social circle, feel the pain deep down inside and the anger, and like get it out on paper, make yourself a best-selling novel. My advice.
Become a novelist.
I'm a novelist.
Quit your work. Just invest your time in writing your feelings on paper. Write a poem, get it turned into a movie, get that movie turned into a musical, and then star in the musical, and then get with someone else.
I think we've just recommended this person become Jenny, though.
Have we? No, we haven't.
She's a writer who had a bad relationship that she then milked for all of her writing techniques and then continued to stay socializing with them.
She didn't use a bad relationship for her techniques. She used the people she was cheating on for her techniques.
Okay.
It was Marina, not the husband that she got the experiences from, too. And an old professor, which is what he kicked off in on them episodes for.
Right.
If you do not understand what me and Neal are on about, we watch a terrible TV show called The L Word.
Yeah.
It is very bad, but it's also brilliant.
It's wonderful. Don't be a Jenny.
Don't be a Jenny. Ever. Never be a Jenny.
But it might be time for this person to step back from their social circle for a little while, just like the other person did, and then come back at it, and maybe you can get some fresh perspectives. Maybe, if it's a little awkward with this person, you can tend to get over it. Like you can manage these social situations, especially if you've got some time to yourself to think about these things. And then when you get back in, maybe you just don't talk to them that much. Like if you're playing D&D together, maybe your characters just don't have that much to say to one another. Maybe it's a little bit awkward, but like you shoulder the
Everyone
burden.
at some point has made either drunken mistake or just wrongly assumed something from a member of their friend group, and it's been a bit awkward for a bit.
Yeah.
It does go away after time. Like,
it does.
I would say take them 2 weeks, and then if it's still a massive problem, after you've like built that wall up, self-assessed, built yourself up, put the wall back down, is then maybe try that honest conversation. It might backfire completely, but it's either take more time, have an honest conversation, or sadly live with it. There's a bit of awkward stuff at all points in life. Like, it depends how awkward it is. Like,
it's hard.
There was 2 people I used to work with that split up at work, and it was very awkward all the time on the ward. But you sort of just brush it under the carpet and just don't mention it, and just persevere and go on. Like, it's always there, but you just ignore it.
And eventually it'll fade.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today for Love Bytes. So we're going to have to say goodbye. Thank you so much, TwigTaco, for coming out and helping us with these problems. I'm hoping that we've managed to help everybody with their issues. If you did get your question read today, and we would... How should I say this? I would love to hear back from the people who had their questions read after some weeks have passed and you've implemented these actions, plans, or advice, or decided to completely ignore them because we're full of shit and we're crazy. I would love a follow-up email if you want to. You're under no obligation to, but it's helpful to see which advice is useful and which advice is terrible, so that we can become better gurus at this ourselves. Twig, do you have anything you'd like to say or shout out before we head out home for the night?
Just that I hope everyone's staying safe in these trying times, and I hope if you are in a relationship, you have a lovely Valentine's Day. And if you're not, I hope you spend some time working on yourself, building yourself up.
Sometimes.
And if you ever need anything, I'm always in the Discord.
Yeah. Talk to Twig. And we'll see you guys another time. Bye-bye, everyone.